All right, brand new episode of the podcast, 548 and counting. Producer Bob, what is going on? How you doing out there in the world? Let me know how the job's going. You got to call in. Maybe we'll talk. We'll record it. Not necessarily so much a full you episode, but I would love to call in and just see what the job is like. But I'm going to give you a little time to settle in. I'm not gonna bombard you. I'm sure you're busy. So Bob, hang tight on that. Everybody, welcome to it. MXPX.com. We have merch. If you haven't already seen the Boys Are Mean, Girls Are Mean t-shirts, woo! We just put those out a few weeks ago, and you wanted them. We finally did something you wanted, right? Now, seriously, I always really loved those shirts, and we don't do a whole lot of vintage nostalgia, bringing back old designs, but that was something from our very first couple years as a band. First couple years, we've had a lot of t-shirt designs over the years, and most of which are not they're not so good that we need to bring them back. But this, there was more to it, you know. Girls are mean, boys are mean. It just fit with everything that we were going through as a band, but as kids growing up, as fans of punk rock. Everybody coming to see MXPX back in those days understood boys are mean, girls are mean. And those shirts sold really well. I'm sure they're selling really well right now. I don't check on those things. I think, you know, there's different kinds of business people that watch every bottom line, every number. And there's people like me that have other people watching the bottom line so that I can just be creative. I can get out there, talk to people, spend time out in the real world, you know, to each their own. Of course, I know that the more you pay attention to that bottom line, probably the more bread you're going to make. But for me, it's not always about bread. Money is not the most important thing in life. It's important to get things done and to make things happen, but it's not the most important. It's really just a tool. It really is. And, you know, when you can spend time with people you love to spend time with, when you get to be creative in your job. So those are some of the best things, you know, in life. And that's what I get to do. So I don't really pay too much attention to the bottom line. I hear things, but it's usually like, all right, as long as it's good, I don't really worry about it. I'm just like, all right, it's fine. And when it's bad, we figure out a way to fix that or to come up with a new idea. I was talking a couple weeks ago about diversity and how, you know, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And, you know, a lot of the times we plan an event, we plan a project, we make a video, and sometimes that video doesn't come out, that event doesn't happen. And if all of your eggs are going towards that one event and it doesn't happen, well, we all know what that means. That's disaster. So this is just more of that. And, you know, we have a good team going. We are making plans for 2025 to come see you guys and play live. Nothing to report yet, but right now, just try to go inward a little bit, find my priorities. Of course, my priorities are family and band, and of course, I think people, you know, the people that we spend a lot of time with, our team, our fans, our, you know. But with that being said, you know, I go into HEB, I go into anywhere, you know. I say HEB because that's a grocery store in Texas that is a glorious place. And, you know, here in Washington, if I go into Safeway or something, I mean, I try to treat people always with the utmost respect. And now and again, I get annoyed with the everyday, like, okay, this person's just cutting in line and cut that person off, or something weird or something dumb. Sure, I'm just like anybody, I get annoyed, but I really try to let it all roll off. A lot, if you've ever done meditation, it's a lot like meditation, my personality. Or not always. I mean, sometimes I can't let things go, but that's for another time. I'm talking about meditation here. And the idea when you meditate is you get into this relaxed state. You're thinking about your feet, where they are, how they feel on the floor. there's different types of meditation. So the guided meditation that I've done is pretty basic. It's kind of like you can be sitting or laying down, and you just you close your eyes and you think about everything around you, and then you just start. Like if you hear a noise, you don't really overthink about the noise. You let the noise come into your psyche and then pass through. You let a thought come into your psyche and then pass through. So if you're thinking about, I got to go to the grocery store later, HEB, yeah. You're thinking about that, but let that pass by and don't judge it. Don't get mad or happy or anything. The idea is to just let it go. And when I'm being, it's not always a good thing in real life to necessarily always let things go. But I find myself recently really trying to see something and not have a judgment about it, especially when you're scrolling online, just to not have it, just let it flow right past you, right over you. You saw it, but you're not going to internalize it. You're not going to judge it. You're not going to judge yourself. I would say that's my personality. Tom Chichilla, he is our not business manager. He's our manager, agent, and he's sort of like the guy that heads the whole group and the whole team. And he told me a few weeks ago that I was the most mentally healthy person that he knew. And I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, everybody I know is a psychopath, so I get that. But I think, I would love for him to explain that, but maybe we'll get him to explain that fully. I think we talked about it last week a little bit on the podcast when I was out east with everybody. The whole team was out. The whole team, not the whole team, technically, actually. Part of the team. But anyway, he told me I was the most mentally healthy person he knew. And I think it's because I stay a lot outside of the hysteria of the news of the day. I mean, I'm paying attention. I know what's going on in the news for the most part. Sometimes I don't. But I'm not judging it. I'm not getting worked up about it. I'm thinking about my own situation and going, okay, what do I need to do that's going to matter to the people that are depending on me to keep this train moving? So like, instead of getting worked up about things you can't control, it's very stoic, right? Ryan Holiday, a friend of mine, he's an author. He writes all these books about stoicism, and he's always got quotes and stories to tell. He's so much better at talking than I am. He does speeches, and it's funny. We're both in a way entertainers, although I feel like entertainer is such a trite thing to say, but to be honest, I mean, when we play shows, our job is to entertain. It's not, and you do that in a lot of ways. You do that by connecting with the audience. You do that by being yourself. You do that also by being as professional as you can and being consistent and having a plan and trying to stick to that plan and execute each point of that night. And it always goes better when you do that. No, that's not how we started out and how we thought about it when MXPX started in 1992, when we played our first show in my parents' backyard on Chico Way. It looks pretty much the same. Everything's a little more modern. There's a studio there now. Well, not now. Now there's the merch arsenal is right behind that yard, or right in front of the yard. And we weren't thinking of any of this stuff back then. So, going inward, finding my priorities. Like, what? No, I guess that's a fancy way of saying I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to write about. I need to write some songs, write a new record, write singles, that's what I love to do. But the longer that I do it, the more pressure there is. And I need to find ways mentally to relieve that pressure so that it doesn't infect and affect my songs. Now, is that possible? I don't know. You tell me. We'll see. We'll see what happens when I write these songs. I'm already writing. It's just, a lot of times I'll write a song and that's not going to make the record. I think it's good, and then it's all right. And then I'll write another song that's going to make, that's going to make the record. I love this song. And then it doesn't make the record because it doesn't fit in what I ultimately end up coming up with, which there's always some sort of vibe these days. You know, Self-Titled had a sound to it. Find a Way Home had a sound to it. Panic even had a sound to it. And, you know, what's that new sound going to be, right? We'll see. We'll see. I don't know yet. But it starts out, I might have an idea right at the beginning, and it's probably not going to end up being there at the end. That's why I don't want to predict something and then have people, yeah, do that, and then I don't do that. So I have to leave myself that room, and luckily you guys, you know, you, the audience, you afford me that room. You know, I get so little negativity. Maybe that's also by design, because I've designed my life to not really let the negative in. I don't pay attention to that stuff. And if I do read a negative comment about myself, I usually laugh because it's usually unhinged or it's a little too spicy. Like, why are you so spicy about this? But I don't know. I wanted to, what was I going to do? I wanted to read this, comment from Facebook. Stiggs McQueen on the Mike Herrera podcast Facebook group, on episode 546. It was Music Monday for the people, but I was talking before we were playing all the songs. I was talking about Spotify and whether or not I should continue letting the podcast run on Spotify. And my podcast isn't big enough to make any dent whatsoever. But at the same time, it was more of a principle thing. It was like, do I want to keep diluting the pool for all the artists that are putting out music there? Not just myself, but it really affects every artist. And, you know, I think one Joe Rogan episode would probably have more plays than all of my podcasts combined. So, yeah, it's not for the numbers that I would be doing this. It would just be purely because it's the right thing to do. But is it the right thing to do? Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe. So that was my question on that podcast to you guys. And he wrote in, Stiggs McQueen, well, I was just asking, like, what do you listen on? Because YouTube is really the best place to listen if it's not too annoying, because especially for Music Monday episodes, you get to see the visual of what's happening. You get it when you're listening to the song. If there's a video, you get to see the video. Very cool. It's better, but also it might be annoying, because if you can't sit there and have YouTube on with your phone blackened out, then maybe that's kind of annoying. So people kind of do different things. But Stig McQueen says, when I listen, YouTube is my first choice. If YouTube is having audio or server connectivity issues, I switch to Libsyn. I do like that Libsyn has the show notes as well as a lot of other info on MXPX's recent activities. I don't have Spotify account, but I'm a CD and vinyl person and not a streaming person. Enjoyed this episode as always. Okay, so Libsyn is where I actually publish the podcast from. And so, of course, that's the source. That's the very source of the podcast where everything's getting streamed from. Now, show notes, you're right. There's show notes on Libsyn. It's going to have links. It's going to have, if I put a link in there, it's going to have links. It's just going to be a little bit nicer than the YouTube show notes. YouTube it's just basically straight text, and it looks a little different, but there's no color changes, nothing like that. Libsyn, by the way, going to like Apple Podcasts, probably Spotify, I haven't really checked. It should have show notes there as well. So check Apple Podcasts. If you want the show notes, it should be there for every episode, and link, with links, and you can get our text if you want to find out how to join our text service, which is texting MXPX, getting text from MXPX when we put out a new song or have a new show for sale, that kind of thing. That's all on there. Playlist links, the links for the new songs we put out, live shows. That's what the show notes are really great for, is having those links so that people can find that stuff very easily. Or do you even care? I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things where you do it because you figure somebody is going to want these show notes. So, all right. Anyway, whatever. As long as I write a good song, that's really the main thing. And then, of course, communicating that, getting the word out so that people actually know that there's songs. So 2 parts. My job is 2 parts. It's writing the songs. Okay, 3 parts. Writing the songs, making sure people know about the songs, performing those songs. And then I think making sure people know about those songs is also making sure people know about shows. Kind of the same thing. It's marketing. So create, market, which is also create, but in a different way, and then perform. 1, 2, 3, boom. Rinse, repeat, let's go. All right, voicemails, we got 2 voicemails for you. That's all I got this week. Hopefully by the next episode, we might have a few more. We'll see. We shall see. If you want to call in, be part of it. If you have a question, you want to talk about, you want me to talk about a topic, you want my opinion on something, hey, no guarantees. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a financial advisor. I am an artist. I am a human. I am a real person. And I will give you the best advice I can give based on my own experience and knowledge. And that's all I can do. All right, you guys, the number, call in 360-830-6660. All right, let's get to it. First up, here we go. We got, well, I don't know who we got. What do we got?
Yo, Mike. You have been an inspiration to me since I've been a teenager. Like, I think we're kind of the same age, so it's kind of cool that we have kind of grown up together in a sense. I know that we don't know each other, but like, it just is awesome. I'm totally into music. You have inspired me. I think that one of my first songs that I ever learned on guitar was an MXPX song, Punk Rock Girl. It's just been awesome to see your progression and to, yeah, I'm not quite there yet, but it's kind of funny that like you have inspired me so much to create and learn guitar, learn bass. I'm kind of like you on drums. I can only make a beat, and that's about it. But I got into sound engineering because I love music so much. I knew that I wasn't like the best guitar player, so I got into the background of music, like learning frequencies and how to turn all those stupid knobs and the spaceship console in the front of the concert. It's been really, really fun. And I've had a really cool career. I've worked with lots of really cool people. And I just wanted to kind of say thank you for kind of inspiring me to do what I love to do. Today still, holy moly. I have the computer set up. I have my guitar here. I have the recording program on. And I have my little Amplify TT, little like guitar thing. Like simple stuff. Like I'm recording out of headphones. And I'm still making really cool music. And it's because of you, man. So I appreciate you. I applaud this podcast. I applaud everything that you're trying to do. And just thank you. That's all. Anyway, hope everyone in the world loves punk rock. And we're awesome because punk rock is just a community that embraces everybody, and I love it. Anyway, thank you for being an inspiration for the whole entirety of my life.
Rad. Thanks for calling in. I don't think I caught your name. I don't know if you said your name, but sound engineer. Sounds like you did some cool stuff, man. I was trying to think, like when you said, you know, a lot of, you know, you starting to play instruments and getting into the music business or as a sound engineer was because of me. I was thinking, who would I call? If I could call somebody and thank them for inspiring me to start playing music, who would that be? And that's a hard one, you know, as a songwriter, as an artist, as a front man, like, I'm absolutely inspired by so many other artists that came before me, even artists that have came after me. Who would that be? All right, well, who got me started? Let's say. It's hard because it's like, okay, let's go punk rock. Let's not go Beatles, because I mean, yeah, sure. The first couple songs I heard was, you know, like Willie Nelson, you know that story, maybe you don't, but it's for another time. Willie Nelson, that was the first time I ever heard a song and knew it was a song and understood this is music, you know, instead of just being a baby. I mean, goo goo gaga. I understood this is a song and I love it. It was Willie Nelson, On the Road Again, and that started it all off. Now, that didn't mean I was gonna be in a band, and I was definitely, I was a kid, and I went through a lot of phases until I became a musician and an artist. But I always wanted to be a singer. I would say Huey Lewis. If I could call anybody, it has to be Huey Lewis. And I know I said punk rock, but it just popped into my head when I was just thinking about all of the times when I imagined being a rock star. It was putting on Huey Lewis in the News, jamming out so hard, singing those songs. It was Bryan Adams. That's why we did Summer of '69. I sang my butt off. I was on the bed, rocking out. MXPX has a video called My Mistake. And the video is Tom, Yuri, and I each in our own bedrooms, and we're kind of having these rock star fantasies. And that video was just, I mean, that was just reliving what we all did as kids. Like I really did do that. I was on my bed, pretending I was singing on a stage. The bed is a stage, and I'm singing out, and I'm rocking out to all the people in the rest of the room, and they're the crowd. And that got me started. Now, that was early. That was, I wanted to be an artist. I wasn't thinking punk rock yet. Now, I got a tape. I heard Good Things by the Descendants. I heard Good Clean Fun. I heard Enjoy. I heard a couple of these. I heard Summary, that album, and got a tape cassette of Allroy. I want to say it was All, but it wasn't Percolator. It was before that. It was Says. No, not Says. Says? Yeah, it was the one with starts out with a theme. Anyway, I guess I'm in the weeds here. That album, I got that on cassette, and I imagined that these guys were rock stars, just like Bryan Adams. To me, it was like, when you talk to Mary, please don't look at me, 'cause she's never seen me before. Like, it wasn't punk rock. It was punk rock, but it wasn't like a Black Flag punk rock that I thought punk rock was, you know? So that really touched me. I think the Descendants and All, the fact that they were playing punk, but it was melodic, it was pop, it was love songs, it was songs, you know, about trying to figure out life, you know, that really spoke to me. And so I guess in the punk rock world, I would have to say, I'd have to call it Bill Stevenson, and which is crazy because I know Bill, so I mean, it wouldn't be a hard thing to do, call in and leave him a message. But I would say I would do that with Stephen as well, Stephen Edgerton, but we're too good of friends. He would be weirded out by that. He's a guitar player, great artist, great songwriter. He's written some monster songs, really great. Mug, Coffee Mug, he wrote that. Breathe, it's an All song. It only hurts when I breathe. You can go kill yourself, don't matter to me. It's such a good song because it's all these like jazz chords. So if you're kind of wondering, where did you get the idea for like weird jazzy breaks on that's an MXPX song. I can't even remember what it's called, but we had this jazz break, I think, on Teenage Politics somewhere. Those are just like internalized from listening to these songs. Breathe being one of them. Like, okay, you can make a punk song, but like slow it down, put jazz chords on it, and then get heavy. You know, you don't have to even get fast. That song never goes fast, but it just kind of just broadened my horizons when it came to punk rock, when it came to songwriting, when it came to like, okay, there's more to it than just this screaming, being mad at the government, and fast. You know, so like it was like, okay, now there's nothing wrong with all of those three things. Those three things are great, but hearing and going to see them play live was just mind-blowing. I saw them at the OK Hotel, and it was a real show, even though it was an all-ages show, but it was real, and it felt almost attainable. Not that I felt like, okay, we could play places like this. I wasn't thinking that at all. But I felt like, oh, I could come here, and this feels good. This feels awesome. I like this. I like going to shows, right? That's what I was thinking to myself. This is, I'm in junior high. This is, MXPX started 1992, which is the summer before 10th grade in high school. So this is 9th grade that I went and saw all in Seattle on a school night. Took the ferry home. It must have been an earlier show because I saw the whole show, which is wild. My Name opened, and I think Big Drill Car might have opened as well. It was an awesome lineup. I didn't know any of those bands at the time, but they're awesome. Love them. Yeah. So I'm just gonna say straight up, Bill Stevenson would be the guy that I would have to call. Aside from, I mean, every other guy that I haven't met Glenn Danzig. So although I'm a fan of Misfits, I'm a fan of Mother. I wouldn't call him. Not that much of a fan. And if I don't meet him, I'm okay with it. I'm bummed that I never got to meet Joey Ramone. Never got to meet Joey. I've met a couple of the Ramones after they had broken up, but I had never met Joey, and that's a bummer. I met Joe Strummer. That was a huge milestone in life, in punk rock life. He's absolutely one of the most legendary people in the history of my musical career, you know. So I got to meet Elvis Costello a couple times. One time on the street, one time at a meet and greet for his show. He wasn't coming to our show. That would be a trip. Although there's been some celebrities that have come to our shows, like with either because they wanted to or with other people that were into the band and they were, you know, dating them. So I'm not going to get into all that. Let's get into the next voicemail. That was an interesting call. I appreciate it. Thanks for. I feel honored that I am your person that you're going to call in because I got music started for you, and man, that means a lot. Thank you.
Hey, Mike. I'm an old fan. My name is Natalie Joy, and I just recently found this podcast, and I really loved you guys back in the day. I was a young bass player, so I really looked up to you, and even now, when I pick up the bass, I will still play the bass line from Chick Magnet for fun to warm up. But in 1996, I wrote a music review about MXPX in my little publication, my homemade publication. And I sent it to you guys, and you wrote me back, and it just made my whole year. I was like 13 years old and a new bass player, and I really looked up to you at the time. And in this letter you sent me, you had Xeroxed a copy of an article called Addicted to Mediocrity. And it really challenged me. It was one of those inspirational moments as an artist that really shaped me because it really gave me permission to be different as an artist and to not dull the raw edges, so to speak. I'm not surprised that you're doing this podcast to help and support other artists. And it's great. So I wanted to thank you so much for that. It was a pivotal moment in my life as an artist. And my question for you is, I've been playing live music for years, but I've finally recorded my first album as a multi-instrumentalist, one-woman band type project. I just released my first single this month. It's so exciting. And promotions are different than they were in the 90s. What advice do you have for me as a brand new recording artist as I go to promote my new music? Thank you so much, Mike. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the call, Natalie. Very cool. So cool that you're kind of like found us again. And that is such a trip. I have no recollection of sending you Addicted to Mediocrity, but I definitely remember that. I wonder if it was just a piece from the book. It was a book. Anyway, advice. Let's get to it. There's so much that you could do, and so take it or leave it. Of course, all of my advice, and we'll see if it works for you. But I would say now we're in 2025. If we were still in 2024, I would say no matter what, consistency and volume. Like just post about your music all the time and on all the platforms you possibly can. If you have anything expertise you can talk about, of course, do that. But like just post. I think in 2025 it's different. Sure, you should continue to post. Technically, it's all still free. The organic reach is everything, but hard to get. But if it's free, why not do it, right? So 2025, how to get the word out. Let's just say you have an album out, it's digital, maybe you're selling stuff, it doesn't really matter. You want people to listen to the songs. You want to gain an audience. I think going in depth is what 2025 is about. It's people are tired of seeing overly curated photos and videos on feeds of artists, and maybe they're not tired of it, but they've just seen it so much. Whether they're tired of it or not, it's blending in because everybody has such dialed in thumbnails and photos and curated feeds, that kind of thing. That's not as important as it used to be. I still think, and I don't think volume isn't as important as it used to be. So I think more in-depth, more quality, and I don't mean quality as in expensive looking, crafted video. What I mean is quality as in, is this something that people are going to want to watch? Now, if it's got your music in it, sure. I could go through like each thing you could try or whatever. I'll try to distill it down a little bit. But going in depth, getting people to really know who you are or who you want them to think you are. I mean, I think it's so important to try to be authentic. But some artists have a persona and that's okay. And it might be a little different than their at-home persona or whatever. That's kind of weird. I guess for me, I'm just a little more animated when I'm talking to people than I would be at home because nobody's watching me or talking to me, and I'm just like sitting there, you know. So like, sure, right? Like that's not what I'm talking about. I guess I'm talking about some people are very different on screen versus off screen, and I think do you, but doing you is the doing you and being actually yourself is what I mean by do you, and it's going to be a lot easier to maintain that because you won't be so worried about, is this on brand? Is this on brand? Like, but then again, sometimes we as people can be a little too out there. So like you is this, but the you people see is going to be this. But go deeper with whatever it is that people see. Now, my version of that is I'm doing a podcast. If people really want to get to know who I am, well, you're going to see the podcast much of me. Now when I stop the recording, then I go like this, or maybe I go like this and I become small. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. You're not seeing exactly what I'm going to be like off the podcast, but this is very real. This is very me. It's not edited. I mean, sometimes I'll edit out a section or whatever, but it's not edited to make me seem smart or a great entertainer or this or that. It's just me. People ask me questions. I try to answer them. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. That's a great way to get to know me, I feel like, this podcast. But it's not what everybody wants to see. Like when I put up clips on the podcast, it's not necessarily like those aren't the ones that do best on the internet, on social media. What does best? Usually some bass things, like me playing bass, me singing, like some crazy live show thing, or whatever, something funny, something weird, a little kid pic of myself, a nostalgia pic. Yeah, so I mean, kind of just from being online what people are gonna like. So you got to find, okay, so I've been on social media. What have I traditionally been good at doing? Let's do more of that. Find a type of video that you feel like you can make a bunch of, and make a bunch of those. You don't need me to tell you you're going to have to make content and videos, and that's a given, of course. But what I mean by in depth is like do something different than what everybody else is doing. So if you see somebody doing something you really like, then maybe you want to do that. But you don't want to do it the same way. You want to do it in your way, in the way that your personality would fit it. So for me, we do a lot of non-edits. We do a lot of clips, like live clips, boom, boom. We do a lot of practice clips in here. We do a lot of live streaming. Here, that's a whole nother thing. Live streaming in 2025 is, people aren't really latching onto it as much as I felt like they were going to. And MXPX has been doing it for years, streaming live. There's no other feeling you can get than live. Live is live. Even when it's through the internet, you can tell this is a pre-recorded video you're watching on YouTube. But if it was live and it has the live thing, just the live thing itself is not enough really for you to be convinced. You see other people commenting. You see there's an environment, there's a community, there's a game being played, there's a system here, and live streams, they give you more attention, straight up. Even if it's 92 people or 5 people watching your live, those 5 people are watching your live. That's 5 people. What can you tell them? What can you give them? Let's connect, let's communicate. So that has been huge for MXPX, doing these live streams. And that's something you can do. Hopefully you've got I don't know your music. Maybe you can do some of the songs acoustically. Maybe it's so different from acoustic you don't want that. Maybe you do a karaoke version, do a car karaoke video of your song and you're singing. I'm not going to get into all the little things, and even though I keep getting into them, but there's just so many different things you can do. Don't worry about the volume. You're never going to have enough. So don't worry about that. Don't stress. I think just worry about connecting and telling an authentic story. And that can be done in a lot of different ways. And, I'm no expert. I'm just like you out there trying things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. So trial and error. And hey, like I said at the very beginning, you have to be constantly doing it. So once you have an idea, don't let it up. Just keep pushing. Maybe that's for like 2 months or something. At some point, you can switch gears. It doesn't mean you have to push forever. All right, this is your life now. Enjoy. No, but you don't want to just put out a couple posts for a week and then you're done. Like if you have a new album, a new song, keep pushing that for a month, 2 months. And then I would say even like we're still pushing our new album. It's been over a year. And I'm starting to write a new album right now. We're not pushing it hard, honestly, right now. But that's what our latest thing really has been. That and Set a Fire. And Set a Fire, you know, it was kind of weird with the LA fires. We stopped promoting that song right away because it was just, people would be pissed, I would think. And it was just kind of like a, out of respect, we're gonna let this one die down, this fire. But I do kind of look at the social landscape, the culture, look on X and see, you know, in Twitter X, what's going on. And if something absolutely tragic just happened, in some ways, the world does keep going. Like, business keeps moving. People go to the store. People didn't even hear about it, and they're on their way somewhere else. That exists, but like, once you know about it, I try to be respectful of people's feelings, you know. But at the same time, like, once I'm ready to post something, my thought is, even if they are going through something, MXPX and music and entertainment is an escape from that. And that's a good thing, because sometimes we just need a break, and MXPX music can be that. So I don't know, all these crazy things go into my head, and for the most part, I feel like, okay, you're putting way too much thought into this, for one, and you're putting too much importance on yourself. Like, who are you? Like, nobody cares. All right, you're right. Nobody really cares about what I think, but you know, I still try to be respectful when it comes to promoting and social media. But hey, this is my livelihood. I've been self-employed for a long time, and it's because people want to have a good time, and music is a big part of that. I love that people love to see live music, get in the pit. Even if they're not in the pit, just getting to hear it and feel it, and it's just a different feeling, really. But also the live streams, you know, that's something that a lot of people that can't get out to a show can enjoy, and it's free. For the most part, most of them are free, and it still has that electricity to it. It really does. So to recap, I would say go in depth. Obviously, keep going with social media, all the organic posts you can. You can try doing some Facebook ads, some Spotify ads, things like that if you want to get into paid ads. Even if you just do like a $5 ad on Facebook. Now, you might get up to $40,000 ads on Facebook at the end of the day. But like, start small, see what works, experiment with how to put the ads together, have fun with it. I don't know if anybody usually has fun with being a marketing guru or learning how to do ads, but I don't even do that. Like, I've offered to do that for my team, and I've always been told, no, we don't want you to know how to do that because it will ruin you. So maybe that's why I'm such a happy person and so well adjusted, because I don't have to do some of those soul crushing things that some of the other team members have to do. But if you're on your own, you don't have a manager, you don't have a team, Natalie, you're gonna have to do a lot of this yourself. So after, you know, running ads and all that, of course, get on some podcasts. Start talking to people on podcasts. Now, I would go for the most listened to podcasts first, of course, but also just what's a podcast that has a good community, a community that interacts with each episode, that has a message board where people can comment and reflect, and just start finding some of those and do it up and have some fun and get the word out. You're gonna have to tell people, and you got to tell people before it's too late, you know. But meaning, a lot of people start marketing music after it's already out and done, but I really feel like it has to be a preemptive push before the music's even out, so that there's some sort of groundswell of demand, and that will help with the algorithms pushing people, more and more people, towards your music. Whereas if you just start from scratch here, it sets a bad precedent. When you come out of the gate small, it's going to make your long tail a very shallow tail. It'll still be long, but it's going to be shallow, instead of when you come out of the gate high, you're starting from a higher point and your long tail goes down a lot higher up and eventually goes down. But like, you get what I'm saying? So if you're starting small, you're only getting this, and this, and then it's down at the bottom. You're done. So yeah, I don't know if that made any sense, but that means you just have to think about when you release something that has to be a big bang on release. And then from there, it's going to sort of be a long tail. Of course, there are exceptions to the long tail. There are times where people have a hit song or a hit record in the middle of when the record's already been out, boom, and it goes up. That happens, but you're gonna need a lot of money, a lot of people to work the song and the album for that to usually happen. Unless it's an undeniable banger, which I don't think any song ever is anymore, because even an undeniable banger is going to get shut down if it's not paid to be there. Yeah, don't get me started on the Grammys. You know, it's all payola, it's all fake. It's not, it doesn't matter. Enjoy, people. If you like the Grammys, enjoy it. It's entertainment. It's just, you know, it is what it is. It's like auto-tune. It's not bad. It's just a different way to sing, you know? So you don't have to have the same type of voice to sound good in auto-tune as you might without auto-tune. It doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you're not as good as maybe somebody that can sing. But you might be better at other things like writing songs or promotion or marketing or, you know, setting ads on Facebook. It's all connected and it's all just a big pot, and we stir it up and we get what we get. We're making recipes. I wish you luck, Natalie. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. I hope you keep listening to the podcast, and I hope you subscribed. I don't know what you're listening on. Maybe YouTube, but I love that you play bass as well. Very cool. All right, you guys, let's wrap it up. I appreciate you. Bob McKnight, thanks for producing. Shout out. He is doing his podcast now and again called The Bob and Katie Show. I think they're on hiatus right now, but it's a podcast. Very funny stories, always involved in that one. MXPX.com. Girls Are Mean, Boys Are Mean t-shirts up in the store now. We used to have these, I want to say our second or third tour. We got this guy Mike in Arizona to draw a bunch of stuff, and he drew this. Mike, what's his last name? It's a very, sorry if I'm forgetting your name, Mike. I do know, I would just look it up and be like, oh yeah. Shout out to your sister as well. They were in a band that we played, you know, they played and opened for us on tour, and Elizabeth was your sister's name, Mike and Elizabeth. We were good friends back in the day, and he drew these designs, and they killed. So we brought them back finally, 2025. MXPX.com. Cheers to all you all. Peace.